It was only 5 months ago, back in April of 2021, that we got pretty disconcerting news about the long-term future of PlayStation 4s due to a design flaw that could potentially break the console in the long term and essentially make most PS4s just utterly useless. Here's a report from Video Games Chronicles, whose headline reads, "User proves once PS4's internal CMOS battery dies, even physical games won't play offline." The CMOS battery being a key component of PlayStation 4, and this is further explained by Does It Play, which kickstarted this whole campaign to raise attention to this issue to Sony in the hopes that they'll release a patch that will ensure that this issue won't be a problem, which is possible through a software fix. So Does It Play said, everyone worrying about a non-existent de novo problem when what they should be worrying about is error CE 34878-0. When the PS4 CMOS battery dies, and it will one day, 10, 20 years down the line, it takes a while for the CMOS battery to die, but it will at one point in the viable distant future. It renders all PS4 digital files unusable without a server reconnection, and in PS4 it also kills disk playback. So this flaw, once it kicks in ways down the line, it'll make your PS4 completely useless. It'll make both your digital and physical games completely unplayable. This is in stark contrast to say how the NES, despite it being almost 4 decades old, is still able to play games. There are no concerns about any design flaws that may potentially cripple that console. As long as you've taken good enough care of it, you can still play it just fine without having to worry too much about its longevity. With the PS4, that wasn't the case because of this design flaw. Now, people ask, well, if your CMOS battery dies, you could just replace it and everything's fine, right? Does It Play responded with, you can replace it, but it won't work until you reconnect the system to Sony servers. What happens when they go offline? And there will indeed come a time when Sony will stop supporting PlayStation 4 and move on. And when that happens and servers go offline and PS4 isn't able to reconnect to servers after CMOS battery inevitably dies, that's when your PS4 will be rendered useless unless you know the technical know-hows of how to jailbreak the console. So when another Twitter user asked, you're telling me that one day I'll no longer be able to play PT, which you can only play on PlayStation 4. People are still keeping their OG PS4s because their copy of PT is loaded on it. Without a jailbreak, no, responded Does It Play. And this design flaw is tied to the fact that the PlayStation 4 is constantly checking to sync up trophies. Lance McDonald tweeted, this error is because trophies on PS4 require the internal system clock, the one you can't see or alter, to be correct. So people can't change their PS4 daytime to make it look like they got trophies earlier than they really did. If your PS4 clock battery dies, all your games die. This is an engineering flaw that baffled Lance McDonald, as the best solution would be to make it so that if your CMOS battery dies and your PS4 isn't able to connect to servers, then trophies are locked down, but games should still be playable if this issue is ultimately about trophies, which it is. Lance McDonald tweeted, it'd be nice if Sony just released a firmware update to just be like, you cannot earn trophies due to a clock error, connect to PSN to unlock trophies, and let you just start the game offline without trophies. I assume they'll never do this, though, because low priority. Funny you should say that, Lance, because it turns out that Sony actually listened to the backlash surrounding this particular issue, which again is very long term, but 20 years later, that will come eventually, and shit will hit the fan one day. And so it's better to nip this in the bud now. And Sony actually began to work on a solution. In fact, it was only a month after reports began to spread on April of 2021, April 19th specifically, that we started hearing rumblings that apparently PlayStation is hard at work on fixing the C-bomb issue. Source, somebody asked, and then Does It Play responded with, probably us, and if so, we are the ones who discovered C-bomb and have been dealing with the entire campaign. Tweets on profile, but a few users have started receiving emails notifying them Sony's looking at the issue, and we have heard from internal sources the PR they want to get on top of it. Now, it's been radio silent for a while. It's been 5 months since the conversation died down, But on September 21st, 2021, reports began to come out that PS4 got a new firmware update, version 9.0, that actually did fix this issue. Destruction Games tweeted, "So it looks like the 9.0 PS4 firmware update fixed the C-bomb issue. Tested it on my PS4 with a dead battery and games are no longer crashing on startup, and I can't even earn trophies, although the trophy earn dates will be blank." So not only did they prevent the possibility of all PS4s being bricked in the long-term future unless you know how to jailbreak PS4s, but they also even made it so that trophies could still be earned. It's just the dates in which they were earned will be blank. That's the only disadvantage. So this is even a better solution than what was anticipated. Destruction Games then went into further details. "My date when booting my PS4 was 1969. Nice. And 5 p.m., which is the default date and time the PS4 falls back on with a dead battery. So my battery is definitely still dead. And here's a pic of a trophy I just earned with the date and time earned being blank." And clicking on these screenshots, you can see for yourself, this is what the date and time was defaulted to because the CMOS battery died as a result of the CMOS battery breaking the synchronization of the internal clock. And right here you can see that trophies can still be earned, but there's just no additional information on it beyond the fact that the trophy was earned, which is, it's fine. And beyond that, a lot of people expected that if Sony does fix this, then it would be a fix for physical games mainly. But it turns out, according to Destruction Games, that he's heard reports from a few other people who have tested it themselves that digital games also work. I don't have any digital games installed on my PS4, so I haven't tested it myself, but that is also very good news if it is true. So Sony and PlayStation have straight up addressed every single one of the concerns and issues surrounding this C-bomb debacle. They actually went further than people anticipated. People were even questioning whether Sony would bother to even try to fix this, but they actually did, and pretty comprehensively. Here's further proof, a video from Modern Vintage Gamer who showed this off. He initially showed what happens if you take out the CMOS battery, if the CMOS battery dies before the 9.0 patch, and you can see you get the error that you would expect, CE30391-6. But then after updating the system to 9.0 and simulating the scenario of the CMOS battery dying, he got exactly what was reported. His date and time settings were reset to December 31st, 1969. Nice. And when he tried to boot up God of War, it actually went into the game instead of giving him the usual error. Now, it could be argued that Sony shouldn't have let this issue be an issue in the first place. I don't know if it was just an oversight or an intentional decision to implement this CMOS bomb design flaw, but Sony, at the very least, did actually listen and took the measures necessary to ensure this is no longer something people have to worry about. And I will give Sony credit for this. They have actually been listening and responding to backlash. For example, back when Sony tried to shut down the PS3, PS Vita, and PSP stores permanently, while they did ultimately close the PSP one, they did keep up the PS3 and Vita stores after backlash and after realizing that people are still making games for Vita. There's still a niche, but certainly still passionate community surrounding the PlayStation Vita. And so a lot of people felt like it was a slap for Sony to shut down these stores without consulting developers and the community, without considering the fact that there's still fanfare surrounding these. It would have been an easier pill to swallow if Sony and PlayStation offered game preservation solutions, allowing people to play PSP, PS Vita, and PS3 games or buy them on PlayStation 5, but that's just not the case. So on top of losing those stores, you would lose access to a significant number of games, especially those that were exclusive to those consoles. They actually listened and decided to undo two of the store shutdowns, the PS3 and PS Vita stores, and people were pretty satisfied with that resolution. And then there was a whole debacle surrounding Horizon Forbidden West and its upgrade program from PS4 to PS5, and the fact that they locked the next-gen upgrade behind the more expensive edition via a dual entitlement program, which is basically the same program employed by EA for, their sports games and 2K for their sports games, locking a free upgrade behind more expensive editions, which is just very anti-consumer. And Sony did this despite the fact that they promised that among the games that would receive a free upgrade from PS4 to PS5 would be Horizon Forbidden West, listed here on the blog post. And Jim Ryan himself, in reference to that blog post, and when asked about cross-generation games, said that we have an upgrade path for PS4 users to get the PS5 versions for free. It's about people having choice. So when people learned that PlayStation was backtracking on that promise and straight up pulling an EA and 2K by locking a next-gen upgrade behind a more expensive edition, especially when the competition Xbox is doing cross-generation releases in a very consumer-friendly manner with smart delivery, this just felt like a slap to the face. And when the backlash came, Sony did very quickly respond and listen and said that we have decided to undo this. Players who purchase Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation 4 will be able to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version for free. And beyond that, they confirmed that they'll no longer try to pull this dual entitlement program. Instead, from here on out, after Horizon Forbidden West, cross-generation titles will cost $10 to upgrade from PS4 to PS5, regardless of whether you own the digital or physical. That $10 will upgrade you to a digital copy of the PlayStation 5 version. And it could be argued that with cross-generation releases, there shouldn't be any kind of fee to upgrade from PS4 to PS5. You should be able to just buy one copy of the game and be able to play it across whatever platform. But at the very least, this is far better than the prospect of Sony continuing to implement this dual entitlement program that forces players to buy an edition that's $20 more expensive or more to get both PS4 and PS5 versions. And normalizing that trend, it's good that Sony did scale back on that front significantly. Especially given that it's near impossible to find a PlayStation 5, or very difficult to do so currently. So people who just want to get the PS5 version, they don't have that option. They can only play on PlayStation 4. And so to punish those people by making them pay more for a next-gen upgrade and whatnot, it's just really not a good look. The fact that Sony has stumbled and fumbled here and there as of late with some of their decisions, that shouldn't be dismissed or ignored, but I will acknowledge that Sony has been more responsive to the community than I feel they've been previously. They do seem to be taking feedback seriously enough that they're willing to engage in some significant reversals, like getting rid of dual entitlement for Horizon Forbidden West entirely, or keeping the PS3 and PS Vita stores up. And more recently, they took feedback surrounding the CMOS bomb concerns seriously enough that they completely addressed this issue and then some, actually took further steps than people anticipated. So with all said and done, this is definitely a good development, and I will commend Sony and PlayStation for listening to feedback and backlash on this. It would have just been an incredibly shitty outcome if years down the line, most PS4s would wind up dying. That's a piece of gaming history that would essentially fade away, save for the few who managed to jailbreak their consoles or know some technical workarounds. So all's well that ends well, though I don't believe there is any word on whether PlayStation 5 has gotten that fixed, because that console also has a similar issue. But if Sony was willing to patch PS4 to rectify this, hopefully this means that down the line we'll see PS5 get a similar update, so there are no concerns about PlayStation 5's longevity and long-term future, because people want to keep consoles that they bought for decades, you know? Because it's part of history, and you never know when they want to go back to that console for any number of reasons. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to know about the latest developments surrounding the PlayStation 4 C-bomb concerns. It's been addressed, and this is one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on how the situation has developed and concluded seemingly. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.